Okay, just looking at the numbers now from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the seasonally adjusted numbers for the unemployment rate for August seem to be unchanged, what the market was tipping there at 4.2%. Interestingly, it's important often to look at the number of people employed and the number of people unemployed. The number of people employed went up 47,500. Unemployed went down 10,500. It's leaving the participation rate at 0 points. It's flat. Okay. Last month, it had jumped to a record rate. What do you interpret from these numbers?
Well, they're stronger than anticipated. So there's more people employed. That's a lot more jobs being created here, probably double what was anticipated. I think people were predicting between 20 and 35,000 new jobs, and you're saying
47,500, according to the ABS on its seasonally adjusted numbers.
That's a significant increase in what was anticipated. So not a great sign for anybody hoping for interest rate cuts at any time soon. I mean, the Reserve Bank does meet next week, and this will be a key factor in deciding what to do with interest rates. There hasn't been any anticipated cut for next week. The Reserve Bank Governor, Michelle Bullock, has ruled out an interest rate cut this year, although she has said if circumstances change, they may change their mind.
Yeah, can you just explain to our viewers, we know that inflation is key for the Reserve Bank at the moment, but these employment numbers are probably the second most important ones because they've got that delicate balance of taking the heat out of the economy while not tanking the jobs market.
Well, the whole, I think, emphasis is shifting from cost of living to can you have a job, can you afford to live at all? And so that means you're shifting away from the focus on inflation to employment. And because as you bring inflation down through higher interest rates, you automatically put pressure on the jobs market. And what we're seeing is that unemployment has risen from a low of 3.5% to the 4.2% we have now. And so that is a key focus for the Reserve Bank, and that is something they will try to preserve. They'll try to keep as many jobs in the economy as possible while simultaneously bringing down inflation into that 2 to 3% target band.
We hear from Governor Bullock so often that their decisions are data-driven. We know that this is the last set of data that they will use, plus the next inflation numbers that are coming out. But it also comes in the context of a global inflation story as well. We saw the Fed overnight cut by 50 basis points, a supersized cut. Given that context, where do you think the deliberations will be for the Reserve Bank when it meets next week?
Well, the deliberations will be around the jobs market, and these numbers are quite strong. So there's no pressure on them to cut rates based upon these numbers. Interestingly, in the States, that was a supersized cut. I mean, a lot of people would say it's an emergency cut. We've only seen double cuts like that in, I think, 2009, the global financial crisis, and then prior to that, I think the dot-com bust. So very, very rare to see double cuts like that. And so it sparked quite a bit of concern about what is underlying this move by the US Federal Reserve, and its jobs. And, they've seen quite a weakening in the jobs market in America. And when this starts to take place, it happens very, very quickly. And the other issue in the States is that while the jobs numbers appeared to be quite strong in the early part of this year, the revisions to those numbers that have taken place in recent months have shown that the jobs growth wasn't anywhere near as strong as first anticipated. So that is something that I think has probably spooked Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve to make this supersized cut today.
So you mentioned here finally, Ian, that you don't think there'll be any additional pressure now on the Reserve Bank to cut. With what time frame are we looking at? What do you think market commentators are how are they going to use these numbers to play into their forecast for rate cuts or the rate trajectory, not just for this year, but into next year as well? Well,
I think there was some speculation that we could see rate cuts as early as November. I think that might be put back by some of the bigger banks that are predicting that. So you'd be looking at early next year, but it depends largely on whether they can bring inflation down at a faster clip than is currently experienced.
OK, Ian Verinder, many thanks for your insight.
Thanks, Kath.